Well, good morning, councillors and our staff and those joining us on live stream for this important annual budget meeting. I'd like to ask the chamber to be upstanding as I call on Councillor Cox to provide an acknowledgement of our traditional custodians. Thank you.
Nara. On behalf of Council, I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the Sunshine Coast local government area, the Kabi Kabi peoples of the coastal plains and northern hinterland, and on whose land we gather today, and the Yinabara peoples of the southern hinterland. We wish to pay our respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the important role First Nations people continue to play within the Sunshine Coast community. Together, we are stronger.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Please be seated. We have two of our executive team joining us via Teams, otherwise everyone's present. Councillors, item 3, I'd just like to point out that to draw to your attention that on the 12th of October 2020, amendments to the Local Government Act 2009 and the Local Government Regulation 2012 came into force. The amendments include the new Chapter 5B, which sets out new legislative requirements for dealing with councillors' conflicts of interest in local government matters, and these arrangements will apply to how we manage such matters at this meeting. So if anyone has any conflicts they wish to raise, now would be a good time. Great, thank you. We'll go straight to item 4.1, which is the annual operational plan, and I invite Luke Flanagan to come forward, please.
Good morning, Mr Mayor and councillors. Today I present to you for consideration the operational plan for next financial year 22-23. The operational plan states how Council will progress the implementation of the Corporate Plan 2022 to 2026 over the next financial year. The goals and pathways that have been established within the Corporate Plan have been cascaded into the operational plan to provide a really strong link between our plans and enable us to effectively allocate resources to operationalise the priorities over the next 5 years towards our vision and goals. By developing the operational plan in parallel to the budget, it ensures that all activities are resourced for delivery over the next 12 months. And within the operational plan, each operational activity is assigned accountability to a group to deliver, which is once adopted further cascaded into our business planning through our branch and individual plans. The operational plan presented to you today is consistent with the requirements established under the Local Government Act and the Local Government Regulations. That is, it's consistent with the budget which will be presented to you today. It states how we will progress the corporate plan over the next 5 years, over the next 12 months, and how we will manage operational risk. Each quarter over the next 12 months, Council and the community will be presented with a progress update on each of the operational plan activities. This enables us to monitor our delivery and also ensure that we're meeting the requirements of our operational and corporate plans. That was the crux of the presentation today. Now I invite the CEO to provide a few comments.
Thank you, Madam CEO.
Through you, Mr Mayor, and well, good morning, councillors. The Operational Plan 22-23, which is considered by Council today, outlines the proposed activities to be advanced in the coming fiscal financial year towards realising strategic goals and pathways within the Sunshine Coast Council Corporate Plan 2022 to 2026. The operational plan also assigns accountability for the delivery of these activities and is the foundation of our quarterly progress reports which we present to Council and our community. This line of sight to our corporate plan enables us to continue to monitor progress towards achieving Council's vision through a balanced portfolio of work that continues to serve our community with excellence, respects our past and positions us for the future. Over the next 12 months, our council will continue to work with and engage with our community and businesses for the priorities of our region, including continuing our emphasis on sustainability in all of its forms and our responsiveness to the impacts of climate change. Planning for and securing opportunities that will build future prosperity and livability in our region, maintaining our focus on fiscal responsibility and our emphasis on the delivery of services that meet our community needs in a cost-effective and responsive manner, managing our assets for current and future generations, continuing to support the recovery of our community and local businesses from the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic, and supporting a safe, contemporary and innovative organisation. The Operational Plan 2022-23 identifies 81 operational activities and 31 service outputs, which will be the subject of our quarterly progress reporting. While much of the detail associated with the delivery of the operational plan is embedded within the council budget, that will be the subject of the consideration at this meeting. I'm happy to take any questions on the document before the council this morning. And I also want to thank all of the team who have worked endlessly over the last year to deliver the previous operational plan and also put together the things that are in the operational plan today. As you are all well aware, the council budgeting process requires a lot of effort from across council, and we have 1,800 very dedicated people who put forward with their passion the ideas and very things that we need to do to create the region that we have. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Can I have someone move the annual operational plan, please? Don't rush me. Councillor Hungerford, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Natoli, thank you. Would you like to open, Councillor?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The operational plan is an important one to move first because it runs in parallel with our budget, which we're doing in the next meeting. The development of the operational plan has occurred in parallel with the budget, with no loss or reduction in our current service levels. Major achievement in the current environment we're in, high inflationary environment. This will continue across the new financial year, with more details in our capital works program to be highlighted in the budget that we're doing after this. We'll also be prioritising our activities to contribute to our response to the impacts of climate change and building greater resilience. That's all part of what we do through the year. We're focused on that. And reviewing our local disaster management plan to keep it up to date for today, especially after the weather events. We've had two 100-year events 2 months apart. It was quite an unusual year. And then there's our regional economic development strategy. This will be important in attracting new investment to our high-value industries and leveraging opportunities from our region-shaping infrastructure projects such as the submarine cable, the Maroochydore City Centre and the airport expansion. Councillors, we know how much work we've done on this in the budget meetings, and it's not easy in the current environment. I think we've come out with a very balanced and forward-looking plan here, and you'll see that in the capital works program that we're bringing down in the budget in the next item. So I put it to you, councillors, this is very positive. Our community have confidence that we're taking them forward, even in these difficult times, and that's a major achievement. And I'd like to personally say the collaboration and the work from all of you going through the budget this year has been exceptional. We've had difficult decisions to make, hard things to look at, an environment that's difficult, and I think every council's in that space. You only got to look at the rate increases, and across most South East Queensland councils at the moment, we're all in the same boat, and I think next year is not going to be any easier. But I believe we can come out with another positive result like we have here, and I put this to you. This is an excellent operational plan, and it takes us into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hungerford. Any further speakers? Okay, you don't need to close, Councillor. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. This is the once-a-year rostrum. Thank you. Councillors, I now stand to present to you the budget for 22-23, and I'm delighted to be here today to speak to the 11th budget, which I've had the honour to present as Mayor of our Sunshine Coast region. And once again, I know we're all proud of the fact that in the face of increasingly difficult and challenging circumstances, we have before us a budget that delivers a positive operating result. And that's very important in the current environment. Coupled with extensive commitments to the services, facilities and infrastructure that our community is seeking from their council. As a tier of government closest to the community, our council budgets, capital works programs and service commitments are always finely tuned to improving livability and opportunities for our residents and for local businesses. And as you know, that's been my singular and laser-like focus since I was first elected Mayor in April of 2012. Councillors, the 11 of us have, around this table, are both the representatives of and indeed a microcosm of the communities we represent. We know the pinch points that frustrate and concern our residents. We have an intuitive understanding of what they expect of their council, and they want us to be reliable and prudent students of the assets and resources which we hold on their behalf. And we have a finely grained understanding that opportunities for those who live here now and those who choose to live here in the future is what our communities want us to pursue, with vigour, with vigilance, and indeed, most importantly, probably with responsibility. Councillors, the task we set ourselves in this year's budget was designed to respond on all these fronts. On the back of two years which none in our community want to revisit anytime soon, we have squarely shaped this budget on what matters now and what matters to our community in the future. And in doing so, we've anchored our approach in sustainability. In that context, sustainability in all its forms, from the social fabric of our region to the natural landscape for which we are renowned, to growing our local economy and local jobs, to the financial resilience and operating position of our council. This budget focuses squarely on delivering a stronger, better, sustainable region. A budget that places services and sustainability at the very centre of every decision we have made along the way and those which we will indeed make in the future. And when we had to make hard decisions, as Councillor Hungerford referred to, the critical importance of sustainability in all its forms is what has underpinned our key considerations. What we know beyond question is that we owe it to our children and our grandchildren to get this right. There are some elements of this budget that have been very difficult for us to make decisions on. These decisions have not been made lightly, nor have they been made without an understanding of the impacts and challenges facing all communities. But we know they are essential if we are to maintain our social contract with our community to be best able to respond to their needs today, tomorrow and indeed well into the future. Councillors, the $847 million 2022-23 budget before us this morning provides $162 million to maintain, renew and replace roads, pathways and stormwater assets. $60 million for our libraries, galleries, community facilities and community services. $94 million for transportation, stormwater and open spaces, servicing development applications, managing property and public health and planning for sustainable growth in the future. $93 million to maintain, renew and replace councils' many parks, gardens and sporting facilities. And just this week I had the opportunity to inspect the latest technology in electric ride-on mowers, 5 of which we took possession of last week. $52 million for our environment programs and services, including beaches and foreshores, and management and maintenance, bushland conservation and clean energy. $39 million for initiatives to support the resilience of our local economy and opportunities for local businesses, including major events and holiday parks. $7 million for community events and grants, and $118 million on waste management services. These investments reflect what our community tell us each and every day, in some form or another, what they want to see delivered, in terms of what they want to see delivered by their council. Our ability to invest in this wide array of services is the product of a decade of prudent financial management and some of the most proactive and future planning decisions and projects delivered by a local government anywhere in this nation. Indeed, I had feedback through the Australian Local Government Association that the new Federal Minister for Infrastructure, Transportation, Regional Development and Local Government, Catherine King, commented in local government circles recently that the Sunshine Coast Council was one of the most progressive in the nation. We've been conscious, however, that we must be ever mindful of the pressures and challenges that are confronting our residents and our communities. This year, many Sunshine Coast residents saw a significant increase in the state government's valuations on their properties. To ensure the impact of these valuations is minimised, our council adjusted our differential rating methodology. By reducing the rate in the dollar formula, our council has restricted the general rate increase for the majority of ratepayers to 5%. And in doing so, endeavoured to ensure this remains below the rate of movement in the Consumer Price Index for many of our residents. When taking into account the general waste and recycling bin collection services and the environment, transport and heritage levies, the bottom line increase for the majority of those ratepayers in the minimum general rate category will be 4.84% or $1.60 per week. We understand the cost of living has increased on many fronts and is impacting household budgets. With this in mind, anyone experiencing financial hardship can arrange to pay their rates by instalments over a 6-month period. And as an extra measure, we've waived the interest charges for those who have arranged to pay by instalments in that 6 months. We also recognise the difficulties experienced by many pensioners in our community. To this end, all eligible pensioners will receive a 3.5% increase in their pensioner rate concession. Sole homeowners on full pensions will receive a $271 concession, which is an increase of $9. Those on part pensions will also benefit, with their concession increasing to between $77 and $212, depending on whether they own the property solely or jointly. While we have been focused on limiting the scope of the rate increase, we have also been confronted with the need to accommodate the increasing costs of delivering infrastructure and services, particularly in a region that is growing at the rate that is occurring here on our Sunshine Coast. At the same time, we're also conscious that our community expects its council to be on the front foot in adapting to the impacts of climate change. Councillors, our world is facing arguably its greatest global challenge, climate change. Building on the extensive body of work and programs we've devised and delivered over the last 10 years, we are further prioritising our efforts to respond to the impacts of a changing climate. We cannot do this alone, however, and our community is an integral part of our responsiveness. The single biggest change we can make as a collective is to stop green waste going into landfills, thereby reducing greenhouse emissions. That's why all eligible households have now been included in the Garden Organics Green Bin Initiative. From July 1, our residents across the board will be playing a direct role in making the Sunshine Coast Australia's most sustainable region, healthy, smart and creative. Residents who have already committed to doing their bit by using the Garden Organics Green Bin will save $27 on their annual collection service fee, which has been reduced from $62 to $35. Those residents have been the early adopters, the disciples of change, who have been carrying the sustainability load, and I sincerely thank them for their efforts. Our efforts around our responsiveness to climate change are, however, only one attribute in our arsenal to preserve our outstanding natural assets. Councillors, protecting and enhancing our natural assets remains a high priority for all in our community, as it is for our council, as together we deliver a stronger, better and more sustainable region. To achieve that, and as I mentioned a few moments ago, this budget allocates $52 million to environmental programs and services. Our environment levy, paid by all ratepayers, will help council to continue our long-standing commitments to maintaining and enhancing our natural assets, healthy environments, waterways and livability credentials. The environment levy will remain at $80, raising $12.2 million to protect and enhance our valued natural environment, including our native plants and animals, waterways, wetlands and coastal environments. The levy will also continue to support the expansion and management of Council's conservation estate for a range of habitat preservation, catchment management and coastal rehabilitation projects. Our conservation estate is undoubtedly one of the greatest legacies we will leave for the future residents of the Sunshine Coast and remains a key priority of our council. In a snapshot, our environment levy will fund $4.64 million for land acquisitions to continue to expand and consolidate the conservation estate, adding to almost 4,000 hectares already purchased via the environment levy. Another $1.47 million will be invested in rehabilitating coastal sand dunes, managing shoreline erosion, preparing a coastal management plan and finalising our first coastal health assessment. Catalytic projects and investigations into our major green spaces, including the Blue Heart and the Lower Mooloolah River Green Space, and implementing the Sunshine Coast koala and macropod conservation plans through on-ground actions, education and projects to improve our fauna movement. More than $2 million will be invested in community support and engagement such as new cultural burn workshops, increased support to improve conservation of migratory and resident shorebirds through community education and securing safe roosting areas, ongoing support for major community catchment partnership programs like Land for Wildlife, where we lead the nation, voluntary conservation agreements, environmental grants and partnerships with community catchment groups. And $3.96 million will go towards improving construction management practices and erosion and sediment control to improve waterway health. Continuing Council's increased commitment to proactively managing invasive plant species and ongoing support for major environmental programs including community conservation partnership programs. I'm also proud our council is continuing to show real leadership in its quest to achieve zero net emissions for our organisation and for our community to be a low carbon community, with both targeted for 2041. Through our efforts over the last 10 years and those we will undertake in the next 10, our council is making a significant contribution to the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games commitment to be the first carbon positive games. Brisbane 32 offers the opportunity to have a whole world see there is no better place to live, work and play or holiday than on the Sunshine Coast. The Games will bring the world to our Sunshine Coast, both physically and virtually, as our region will be home to 4 key venues and several sporting events including football, basketball, marathon, mountain biking, cycling and kiteboarding. Council has already focused on its legacy planning to ensure the economic, social and environmental dividends from being part of the Games experience are captured for our Sunshine Coast. We want to see those benefits captured and maximised in the years leading up to, during and beyond just the 4 weeks of competition in 2032. Planning and action have already started and I'm confident that we are well placed to secure the legacies that we've been seeking from the Games. In another major milestone, councillors, as you know, last week our Sunshine Coast received international recognition when we were officially joined UNESCO's World Network of Biosphere Reserves. Ours was the first new biosphere designation in Australia in around 13 years, and our council now proudly stands as an international site of excellence and an area of natural beauty. Hear, hear. 7 years in the making, and another great example of the value of planning strategically, holistically and fulsomely to achieve a great outcome. That's also what our new planning scheme project is all about. In 22-23, funding will be provided to further progress the new planning scheme community consultation process. What is important with this project is that we confidently and considerately plan for decades into the future. So we maintain our lifestyle and protect our environment and create a resilient economy in the process. Connecting our communities and encouraging travel behaviour change will also be a major priority, delivered with the proceeds of the transport levy, which will increase by $1 from $44 to $45. This levy is forecast to raise $6.8 million this year for important community programs like the FlexiLink service in hinterland towns, Kenilworth Community Transport Service, and the Council Link service for eligible persons travelling to their nearest centre. It will also support our Council's contribution to the development of the mass transit project, detailed business case being led by the Department of Transport and Main Roads. Improving bus stops and access to them with a focus on accessibility for seniors, the Ride Score Active Schools program to trial in multiple schools, and the Trial Move Safe community education program. Councillors, this year the Heritage Levy has been expanded and renamed to the Arts and Heritage Levy, and will increase by $3 to $16, raising $2.4 million. The $3 increase supports the delivery of the Sunshine Coast Arts Plan 2018 to 2038 and will go directly towards developing and delivering projects to provide career pathways for local emerging artists. The balance of the levy, or the same $13 per household paid last year, will continue to be spent on delivering the Sunshine Coast Heritage Plan 2021 to 31, including supporting new research into regional stories, conserving our region's heritage assets, including Bankford House and its nationally significant collection, and supporting our region's community, museums, heritage organisations through grants, practical workshops, professional development, community programs, collaborative marketing and events. Importantly, it will also support cultural heritage projects developed in collaboration with the Kabi Kabi, Yinabara, and indeed descendants of Australian South Sea Islander peoples. While Council has focused on limiting the rate increase, we must also accommodate the increasing cost of delivering infrastructure and services. At the end of the day, I think we all believe our community wants its council to be strong, fiscally responsible, and able to continue to deliver the services and facilities they require. That's why our $273 million Capital Works program remains one of the largest of any of the councils in South East Queensland. Our Capital Works program is important to our community on so many fronts. Our investment in local infrastructure and facilities is job generating. It also provides economic opportunities for local businesses. And all the while, our capital program delivers better access to services and facilities for communities right across our Sunshine Coast. Our communities are the heart and soul of our region, made up of tireless volunteers and dedicated organisations. Recognising this, our community strategy presents the vision that together we thrive. To help deliver this vision, $3.1 million will be invested in grants to community groups, including $1.4 million through the Community Grants Program to help organisations deliver projects and events benefiting many residents across our region. Council will also commit $911,500 to community partnerships with organisations such as Coast Guards, Chambers of Commerce, regional museums, community halls and neighbourhood centres, and more than $770,000 for sports field maintenance. Another $3.7 million will be allocated to support community events. $5.3 million will be provided to begin construction of a new district library and community meeting space in Caloundra. $2.2 million will be invested in sports field lighting upgrades at various council venues, including Maroochydore Junior Rugby League Club, Coolum and Cotton Tree Aquatic Centres, Landsborough Sports Centre, North Shore Football Club and Maroochy Multi-Sports. And $750 will be allocated to progress master planning of the Nambour Administration Precinct as part of Council's broader regional workshops program. Thanks to the foresight of our regional economic development strategy, which we put in place in 2013, our economy is on track to grow to $33 billion by 2033. Councillors, this year's $39 million investment in job creation and local business initiatives will help to enable our high-value industries to develop, innovate and grow, as well as attracting major events to our region. Our small businesses remain front of mind for Council. We know many of them struggled to keep afloat over the last 2 years, and I want to acknowledge the perseverance of every one of our local businesses who stayed the course during the pandemic. With this in mind, we're strengthening our support for local businesses, recognising they are major employers and are integral to the region's prosperity. They help shape our communities and indeed our business centres. They are the economic backbone of our Sunshine Coast region. In this budget, we have allocated funding to continue the Buy Local Sunshine Coast campaign, to put more spend back into the hands of local businesses, continue our support for Study Sunshine Coast initiative, which will be able to bounce back better than ever as international travel resumes, and develop a talent attraction and retention campaign to better address the local workforce shortages, and promote more circular economy initiatives to reinforce the importance of sustainability across the local business landscape. Our council will also continue to leverage the Sunshine Coast International Broadband Network to help attract new businesses and jobs into our region. Councillors, one thing that our community knows only too well is that our council is prudent, responsible and diligent managers of their resources, assets and finances. With this budget, it is no different, with a forecast operating result for 22-23 of $31.8 million. Both the state and federal governments would give their eye teeth to achieve the record of annual surpluses that we've been able to deliver. And all the while, the two tiers of government receive 97% of the entire taxation revenue of our country. The 3% we receive across local government around Australia is responsible for maintaining 1/3 of the nation's infrastructure, including 76% of its roads. Our discipline pays dividends for our community, because what it does is it enables our council to double down on our efforts to respond to the needs of one of the fastest growing regions in the country. And that's exactly what we're doing. In April, Queensland Treasury Corporation completed its annual credit review of our council, which I'm delighted to say has moved from strong to strong with an improved outlook. To put this in perspective, our council has been awarded the second highest possible ranking available for local governments from the Queensland Treasury Corporation. There is no other council higher on the order than the Sunshine Coast. Councillors, most importantly, we have achieved this without a reduction in services. And with the remaining payment on the airport expansion project due from Palisade Investment Partners next week, we will see a significant reduction in council's debt. My fellow councillors, in 22-23, our budget lays the foundation to respond to our community's greatest needs. This budget will support pensioners through increased rate concessions, while reducing fees for those residents who have already committed to doing their bit for the environment by using the Garden Organics green bin for some time. This budget enables council to remain in a strong financial position, a record we have continued to enjoy over the past 11 years. Councillors, most importantly, this budget is about creating a stronger, better and more sustainable Sunshine Coast, focusing on the needs of our community today, next year and well into the future. I congratulate and thank each of you for your input and deliberations and for the hard decisions as we've developed this budget together. I also want to acknowledge and thank our Chief Executive Officer, our Executive Leadership team, but in particular our finance team, who've worked incredibly hard on this process since we commenced the budget round back in November of last year. And I want to thank them for their thorough and extensive work in helping to bring this budget together for our consideration today. We've put local first, our local communities, our local environment and our local businesses. And that is something which we should all be proud of. Councillors, I commend our council's 2022-23 budget to the chamber. I'm happy to move it and look forward to a seconder so we can have some debate. Thank you, and thank you very much to our community. So can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hungerford, thank you. And I might give you the opportunity to comment first, Councillor Hungerford.
Through you, Mr Mayor, quite happy to. I'm not sure if anyone's noticed, but I'm a facts and figures person, so I'm in my element here. You've noticed? Oh, okay. Mr Mayor, you stated this is your 11th budget. That made me think, geez, that's 19 for me. I think I've done these once or twice before. This budget is probably one of the best I've seen, especially in the difficult climate we're in. A total budget of 847 million. Our operating revenue, 527 million. The rates revenue equates to 277 million of that. Our capital works program is 273 million. Ratepayers are definitely getting value for their $8 here. And we've achieved all of this with a below CPI rate rise of 8.84%. In the current environment, that's very difficult to achieve, as we all know from the deliberations we've had over the last 6 to 8 months. Community grants have been retained at 3 million. We've increased the pensioner discount 3.5% to 4 million. In that difficult environment, we've achieved that. And take the minimum general rate payer. With a valuation increase in average across the region of 28%, we've actually moved the threshold from 290,000 up to 372,000 to keep them in that minimum threshold. Maintains 59% of our residential ratepayers paying the minimum general rate. Last year that was $1,269, goes to $1,332.50 this time, $63.50 increase. That's very affordable in the current environment. Now our below CPI increase, we also have a positive operational result. Not a deficit like other levels of governments do year after year and debt keeps growing. In fact, our debt's going to be going down. Our region building projects were designed on self-funding, not being a burden to the ratepayer. So on that, in only a week's time, a bit over a week's time, when the airport Palisade payment comes in at 305 million, that will take our current debt of 643 million down to 488 million. Actually reducing debt. We haven't got deficit budgets. That's a significant factor for anyone in accounting term to understand. On top of that, we've got a strong rating with Queensland Treasury, strong with developing outlook, and we've achieved 13 unmodified audits in a row. So 13 of my 19 budgets, financial years have been unmodified audits in a row. That's something we should be proud of, because that's the highest accolade you can get in accounting standards. Unmodified audits consistently. And that shows in the results we're delivering in balancing our budgets and delivering on the ground, as can be seen here. The only caution I have is going into next year's budget is not going to be any easier. In fact, it could be harder. We've come in this year with the end of March CPI of 5.1%. We know all the increase in costs and materials and delivering services has gone up dramatically in the last 12 months. If you look at it, Brisbane's already gone to 6. And it's already predicted in the media, I think Reserve Banks have predicted 7 by December and possibly 8 plus going into next year. That's further headwinds we're going to face going into next year's budget. I'm bringing this up because we only started in a few months' time. We don't get much of a break. And when you look at the community out there with electricity, fuel, mortgages, everything going up, you've got to take that into account in factoring next year's budget and what expenditure and what rate rises can be sustainably put out there to the community in the future, because everything's going to get harder. But if we keep our focus on our delivery and our financial standards and accountability and getting value for money, I believe we can do it. And we've done that in the last year, and I believe we can do it again. I put to you, this is one of the better budgets I've seen in the 19 budgets, and I wholeheartedly put it to you, and our community can have confidence that we are really delivering. This is an outstanding budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hungerford, and thanks for your contribution. Councillor Dixon.
Yes, thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor. Obviously, you've gone through a lot this morning. It's a huge budget and capital works program for the region, and I guess the big thing is that money's being spent everywhere. It's not just one select division. The whole region is getting a win, and more importantly, the community are getting the win. When I talk to people, the most important things for them when I'm out and about, they want their waste to be collected. They want efficient services from council. They want great customer service. And they want the look and feel of the region to be great. They want the parks to be maintained and mowed and the weeds to be removed. And when I actually reflect on what we're doing even in this current financial year, I think the council's done a pretty good job. Because I go through the customer requests that I put in, and more times than not, the staff are actioning those things within a matter of days. An example, yesterday I reported a damaged garden out at Sippy Downs, and the staff have actually fixed it overnight. This morning I got the update that it's done. So when people ask, where does my rate dollar go? Well, it's actually being spent. It's being spent quickly and efficiently, and we're getting the job done. Responsiveness is the big tone of what I'm saying. We are very responsive, and this budget, from what I've heard and from what I've seen, will give us the ability to continue to deliver great customer service for the region. I want to talk on some wins, because ultimately this is what we're here for. We're here to talk about the wins and the positive outcomes for our community, and as a councillor now for some 16 years, I'm finally starting to achieve some of the things that I set out for many, many years ago, and I've done that with some great staff at the Sunshine Coast Council and also the support of my colleagues here today. And I just want to touch on a few of those, Mr Mayor, because they're very important for me and for my community. In Sippy Downs, we're spending $2 million on a brand new district park in the town centre. So you think about the development that's occurring in the Sippy Downs Town Centre. We're getting a brand new park, which is underway right now, a district recreational park in Sippy Downs, $2 million. A very close one to my chest, something I've worked on for a long time, and I appreciate the support, is the design for the Sippy Downs Library and Community Facility. If you think about Sippy Downs, a historic development that lacked footpaths, roads, social spaces, parks. Councils had to spend a lot of ratepayer money bringing it up to the 21st century, and we're actually spending $1 million on that project, and that's enormous. Because you think about the growth around Buderim, Sippy Downs, Palmview, they're the catchments that will be served by this new facility, $1 million. We're also looking at putting a separated cycle lane along Mountain Creek on Karawatha Drive, $650,000, and then we're looking for a $3 million state government grant on that. Albany Lakes, we've done very well with our state government partnerships. In the last year, we were granted $1 million from the state government to build more parks in Sippy Downs, which is just fantastic. Mountain Creek, we're spending money, $100,000 on local park upgrades. Sippy Downs traffic around the Chancellor State College Council will be investing $130 on studies and planning to put in more queuing lanes and roadways into the future in Sippy Downs around the high school precinct. It's a problem, and I drive it every day. We're working towards that actively. We got a federal government grant for $500,000 to deliver after, I know, 20 years of discussion, 22 years of discussion, the Scholars Drive Link project, which has been promised for 22 years, being delivered right now, under construction. Some huge wins. Mr Mayor, there are a lot of other projects going on, but wrapping up this financial year, we're actually seeing a soccer club storage facility for the Bedina Soccer Club out at Mountain Creek being delivered for $60,000. And also one that I'm hoping will be in for this Christmas is the welcome tree at Glenfields. So coming into the Glenfields estate, we've got this beautiful tree, and the local Residents Association and Neighbourhood Watch wanted to light it up and put fairy lights through it. We're going to be delivering that project by Christmas. So not all of these projects are ones that I set out for, but they're ones that our residents dearly want and actually see high return on their rate dollar for getting those capital projects delivered. Again, I just want to thank the enormous amount of staff work that's gone into it. This is not about me. This is a great team at Sunshine Coast Council. And also for my colleagues here today, this gives Division 6 some fantastic outcomes, and I dare say in your divisions as well, there'll be some fantastic wins on the board for your community. I fully endorse and support the budget today, Mr Mayor, and appreciate everyone's hard work.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Landsberg.
Well, thank you, through the chair. First of all, probably in terms of the budget and the work that's gone on behind the scenes, I'd like to obviously thank our finance team. It's been many workshops that we've had in discussing the different implications of rate increases, which I'm sure across our own residents of the Sunshine Coast is concerning, but they are times of we've seen increases in CPI across the board of 5.1, which is really going to see increases in our electricity and utility costs, and that will be something we're very mindful in the future. Just over the last 3 years, our council has delivered, in terms of just touching on the capital works program, $831 million in capital projects. I think over 3 years, that's an incredible amount of money that we put into our community to sustain our jobs for our families, for our contractors, and to keep our economy ticking over. And I know in terms of the work that's gone on behind the scenes with implementing those projects, and I'd like to thank councils, everything from our civil asset management to our garden projects that we deliver, our foreshore works and all along the beachfronts. That seeing a positive surplus of $31 million delivered after all that investment into our region is an amazing outcome for our council. And I'd also like to just touch on, we're starting to see a return investment from the Maroochydore City Centre of $21 million from land sales up there as well, which is a great outcome for council. And touching on 9% growth over the last 2 years, which on average we usually see 3% growth on the Sunshine Coast, it really is the impacts of this economy from a broader scheme for our council to continue to step up to the mark. And I know it's a hard challenge for all of us, but it's a challenge we're all up for. The Ride Score, the Mayor just touched on some of our active travel programs, the Ride Score program, and just a bit of feedback from one of our local schools here. We're currently handing out prizes for the most rides the children take into school, and one of the conversations I had with a parent the other day was they could not stop their kids from riding to school in the rain because they wanted to receive the prizes and beat the other kids. So using these apps that we're using for the Ride School travel program has been a wonderful outcome for our region, and I think it's a credit to our officers rolling that out in terms of our active transport. And just quickly for Division 2, we're finally seeing the movement with the Caloundra Library and the Caloundra Activation Program here as well. We've got $5 million we spent on that process. There'll be a roof replacement for the Caloundra Indoor Sports Stadium in North Street of $1.3 million. We've got work starting to go into a detailed business case for the Caloundra Transport Corridor upgrade, which I want to see delivered as quickly as possible. I drove around here and see the congestion on our coast, and it is a much needed upgrade to our road infrastructure. And also finally, money spent due to the Bribie Island breakthrough in terms of upgrading our revetment walls, which I'm sure that'll be a very much needed addition as well. So on behalf of the budget, and fully supportive, I thank council from all of us, and look forward to us supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Landsberg.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I just wanted to say this is obviously a budget that's got a whole spectrum of community, economic and environmental benefits, and I was just going to share with the Chamber today a conversation that I had yesterday when I was presenting to a retirement village in my division. And as you do, you always get questions coming up from the floor, and one of them was in relation to our waste strategy and the introduction of our garden organics service. And I just wanted to say that generated a whole great conversation with that residential community about the benefits of council introducing this. And I just wanted to say to those here in the chamber that have, as you said, showed great leadership in making the tough decision to bring about this garden organic service, because that will go a long way to helping reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. So that was just something I thought I'd quickly share with the Chamber, because it was a very positive conversation yesterday. I also just wanted to join with the other fellow councillors that have already thanked our staff. It is a massive amount of work that goes into creating this budget. So I just wanted to say once again, thank you to all the staff. It is greatly appreciated, but not only everyone at this table, but our community is the ultimate beneficiary of that hard work. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Natoli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations to you, the CEO, all the staff, for bringing to us, again, a very complex set of figures, calculations in regards to what our community needs and how we're going to be able to meet the needs of a growing community. I just want to take councillors back. Our first few budgets were obviously budgets that we had some feedback amongst councillors that our input as councillors was probably too late in the process, and there was a request that we review that, and I want to thank the CEO and especially Heidi Roberts and her team who led that review, and we had the ability right at the beginning to have that input, and we were able to restructure the process of where councillors could contribute a lot more in terms of policy and make sure that the budget did reflect that. A lot of the councillors and the mayor have already made comments of how in-depth and how much work goes into this right at the back end, and it is a process. At the moment the budget's handed down, we really virtually start again preparing for next year's budget. It's complex. We've known for a long time that the impacts on the building materials have been impacting our capital works programs. The budgets that we set have been really challenged. There's a whole range of other factors that we have to take into consideration. So it's a moving feast, and of course what we've seen leading into Christmas and since then is the impacts on the cost of living. We've known that they've been there, but really been highlighted, I suppose, by fuel hitting record prices today, that we've seen these impacts on our community, and electricity recently has been another focus, not only on domestic but also on commercial users. It's going to be challenging. The Governor of the Reserve Bank indicates that we will probably face inflation around 7% by the end of this year, and when we try and put these budgets together, obviously we have to go through these reviews as we go through the year. It's going to be challenging for our community. It's also more challenging when governments take 3 years to undertake valuations, and in that period of time we've seen significant increase in property valuations right across the whole coast. In fact, 28% right across when you take the average. There are some divisions that unfortunately have been impacted even more. My division, Division 4, is probably the most impacted, but I also understand Division 3, Division 9 have had significant increases of up to 80% valuation. And that's a real challenge for us as a council, because council doesn't actually make any more money out of these valuations. As we heard the Mayor say, that we actually adjust the rating a dollar down, so that the average 28%, we reduce the rating a dollar down, so that we start from a zero base when we start to build this. And of course, with the support of councillors and the staff, we tried really hard to try and bring a balance, change the thresholds in a differential rate to try and make sure that some of those properties that have been impacted up to 80% weren't going to be facing extraordinary increases in rates. We haven't been able to achieve that. There are winners and losers when it comes out of this. It is a balancing. When the new valuations come in, we'll see that change again. But there will be some people in our divisions that will be facing a higher burden. I want them to know, as the Mayor said, there is financial assistance. There are opportunities to be able to pay their rates off periodically. So I encourage those people who are challenged financially, because there are a lot of people in my division, even though there are a lot of expensive homes, a lot of these people are self-funded retirees. They've been challenged over the years with very low interest rates if they've been very conservative with their investments, and even recently, if they haven't been, their share portfolios would have taken a massive hit. That uncertainty, especially when they've got fixed incomes, is really difficult for them to be able to manage their budgets, and so I encourage them to take the opportunity to talk to council staff and make sure that we can accommodate their needs if they're going to be struggling financially. But I really want to say that I think this process that we've gone through with the budget has been a much better process, Madam CEO, and I really commend, even though there are aspects of these budgets that I know councillors are uncomfortable with, that I'm confident that ultimately we do what we do for the best interests of everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Natoli. Councillor O'Prey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you. Again, another lot of congratulations, and firstly through to Heidi, who's online today. Congratulations to Heidi, to Michael and Isaac. Wonderful job. It's a 12-month gig just to get this together, and I want to congratulate you. Also to Mayor on your presentation this morning. I thought it was excellent. The presentation, the pictures and the elements that were wrapped around it was really, really good. But most importantly, I think I'd like to thank and congratulate our Minister for Finance, Ted Hungerford, who's just had every inch of his soul into this for the last probably 3 years. I know that when he didn't have the portfolio of finance last term, he was desperate to get it this year, and I think you're doing a marvellous job, Ted, so thank you very much. Mr Mayor, a couple of highlights I'd like to bring to everyone's attention, and it's probably a little bit unusual for me to talk more about the environment than the economy, but today I think it's really important that we acknowledge the waterways and the healthy waterways that we've been talking about, the significant geographical areas of the Sunshine Coast, which includes our oceans, our rivers, our dams, our lakes, our canal systems, our creeks. That's a very significant part of our geographical area, and it's great to see such an enormous amount of money going into our waterway health, because that really is what the Sunshine Coast is all about. And also the animals and the bird life, particularly the shorebirds, which is very close to my division in Division 8. The shorebird program is a significant amount of money backed around that, but also the turtles, which goes up and down the coast, and the koalas and macropods. But most importantly, in my area, I'd like to thank councillors. Nothing happens fast in council, and I can tell you right now, we've finally got an increase in our dredging program, and I want to thank each and every one of you for that. It's been a thorn in my side for a number of years. I've worked very closely with Georgia Keeshan and with Michael Anderson, and it's great to see that we've got some more money coming to fruition in our dredging program. I'd also like to thank Tom Jamison, who's not with us any longer, but he's worked with me in regard to the stormwater program. As you know, Division 8's got some of the lowest lying land in the entire Sunshine Coast, and the stormwater program is very, very critical to my community, and it's great to see so much money going in towards our stormwater program. The Olympics and Paralympics, of course, we're looking about legacies, and we're looking about securing legacies both pre-Olympics and post-Olympics. It's great to see that we're working very hard on the planning and the actions, and working on gaining that infrastructure that the Sunshine Coast needs for those 2032 Olympics and Paralympics. Another one that's close to my heart is the sports field program, the sports field maintenance program. Jack Ray, I give him a big plug every year. $770,000 going into that program this year. Of course, with that, toppled with the sports clubs grants program. So that's every little club on the coast. That's the junior AFL, the netball clubs, the footy clubs, the soccer clubs, the basketball clubs, croquet clubs. You name it, they've all got an opportunity there to tap into those monies. And $2.2 million going into lighting upgrades, which is, again, the North Shore Sports Centre will be beneficiary of that. The North Shore Jets is the big club there at the AFL. The lighting's going to get $2.2 million across the entire region. Mr Mayor, $39 million in investment into the economy, which is huge. So this is to benefit the food and ag network, the aviation industry, small business most importantly, and that's probably the one I'm going to highlight the most, clean tech and tourism. I'm not going to bang on about the tourism like I would in every other year, but this year it's all about the small business. All right, small business for me is the mum and dad businesses that employ most of the Sunshine Coast. More people have a job and get their pay and pay for their house and feed their family through small business than any other identity on the Sunshine Coast. So we need to keep backing that. We've backed them heavily throughout COVID, and it's really important that we're going to continue to do that. The event space, it's always massive. It's a huge success. The events are back in town. COVID has given them a big whack, but we're certainly back in town. But the community events, the smaller events, the Arts Rick, $3.7 million going into community events across the region this year, which is very, very significant. And the grassroots stuff, which is important to my area again particularly, is the playgrounds and the shade. The shade that we're putting into our parks and gardens, shade, 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 I can't say it enough. The shade infrastructures, whether it be through across the top of the playgrounds or just on our barbecue areas or our fish and chip tables. I don't care where it is, but we're putting shade everywhere, and I think it's a very, very significant part of our budget. Mr Mayor, I mentioned earlier, I noted all the prettiness of the budget presentation today, but the key words there for me were the very last words, the stronger, better and sustainable budget. Now this has been a very difficult budget and challenging budget, and as like Christian and Ted said, it's probably the best budget I've seen, but those words really resonated with me, stronger, better and sustainable budget, and I really want to commend the council staff on coming up with that, because it is massive, and I want to congratulate each and every one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor O'Prey. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Well, there's a number of things that I feel I should say, and they're all complimentary. Firstly, I'd like to thank my fellow councillor, Councillor Dixon, and also the ELT in Tom Jamison. was Mr O'Prey and now Deborah Robinson, who have helped us throughout the last 12 months, or the last couple of years actually, to push forward change in the organisation in relation to service excellence. And the CEO has got more to do, which we recognise, but it's one of those things that moves slowly, and I'd like to thank you and all of the officers for what you are doing and how you're going about it. Next thing, I'd like to mention that in Division 5, it's a very big division, probably compared to the other coastal divisions and Division 10. My division, Division 5, together with Division 10 and to a degree Division 9, are the largest in the rural divisions on the coast. And we will have a lot of towns, so therefore expenditure is important that you spread it around. I'm pleased to say that this year we've got some 62 projects, capital works projects throughout the division, which is a large number of projects. Some of them are partially as a result of federal and state funding, such as the Woombye Streetscape, placemaking, Bannerberg Road Works, Warriors Football Club, and the Palmwoods LED lighting, Palmwoods Cricket and AFL LED lighting upgrades. But in addition to that, it's not actually shown in the budget, but we've got in Division 5, we've got some 35 additional roads and streets that are going to be resealed. And overall, a lot of the work that gets carried out in Division 5 is maintenance, repairs and upgrades. We don't have the population growth, so it's difficult for us to justify major new facilities such as swimming pools and things like that. However, having said that, there is a need for continual upgrading of all of those sort of things. So the council officers who've been responsible for all that, and also I can't let the opportunity go by to not express, I have to express a great appreciation of our parks and CAMS groups. The leaders in those teams are magnificent. They achieve a great deal, they listen, they help, they want to get things done for us. And that's been fantastic. I really do appreciate it. Division 5 also has the largest number of privately owned, as a percentage of our rate base, the largest percentage of privately owned principal house of residence of all the divisions. So, you know, as a result, we don't have the same number of businesses, etc., etc. But we do, in each one of our towns, have a business, and then we have all of our agriculture. And I'm also pleased to see that there are some bitumen road gravel road upgrades to bitumen in our program once again. Overall, I've calculated that between parks, roads, capital works programs, reseals, maintenance, there's a significant increase over the last 3 years in what is being delivered to Division 5, and I think the same applies to the other rural divisions. From that point of view, it's a lot easier to, when we go to functions and things like that, to say to people, well, we're getting our share, you know. It's not all going to the coast, because that's the thing that we often have to argue with people about, or not argue, but we have to listen to, and we then need to explain to them why some of the big projects are at the coast, because that's where the population is. But having said that, we still are getting our share. Finally, I'd like to thank finance team and for the work that they've done. The ELT, because every one of them has been extremely helpful to me whenever it's come to recommendations, ideas, suggestions, etc. And what I've had to say has been taken on board. So maybe some of what I've said has been common sense. However, having said that, finally, I just want to thank the Mayor and also all of my fellow councillors, because we have been a very harmonious council. And this budget process, right, nobody has been a 100% winner. We've had to defer some projects into next year or the year after, and that's partially because we've got a carryover of projects from the current financial year which couldn't be finished because of wet weather, increased costs, etc., etc. But overall, I think everybody is really happy with this budget, and the ratepayers should be too. Everybody is to be congratulated who's had a participation. I thank all my fellow councillors for listening to me when I talk about issues, and generally they actually take some notice, so that's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. I go to Councillor Babarowski.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, I was reflecting on this budget and thinking, well, if I was a general member of the community, how would I interpret this? And if I just look at the general themes of it, what I conclude from it is that it's a budget about confidence, and it's a budget about understanding the complexities of a region the size of a small country. And I love the complexity, and I think we have a tremendous good fortune to have the skill set in our staff, our ELT and our body politic to recognise that we do need to have a harmonious approach to it. I love the fact that you mentioned the biosphere in this budget. I think strategically for this term of council, it's a country mile ahead of anything else in terms of significance. I hope that everybody recognises just how important it is to have an independent umpire watching us measure ourselves against sustainability targets into the future. It's intergenerational. So incredibly important. And I think that it reflects why people love this region, why they come to this region. They think that we understand that the decisions ahead of us are incredibly important and must have a balance to them. And I think this budget is a very, very good balanced budget. But if I may pop my portfolio hats on for a moment in terms of the arts, transport and heritage, I'd really like to thank this council and the staff for presenting the cases to have modest increases in the transport budget. Why? Because this region understands that transport is utterly important and underpins the quality of life offer that we have as a region. If we don't continue to be incredibly good advocates, assist in the planning, deliver those programs that we can, simply the spiralling congestion will rob us of such an important part of our quality of life. So thank you for that modest increase in the transport levy. I certainly again want to very quickly mention I'm incredibly proud of you for recognising the importance of expanding the parameters of the heritage levy to include arts. Thank you very, very much. It's a very modest amount, $3 this year, but that will give some resources to the 20-year art plan that makes it more than just a piece of paper, a piece of bureaucracy. It starts to help us deliver the 20-year arts plan. And it recognises that we understand as a rapidly changing region, we do need to understand what we should preserve and help current and future generations understand as what's been our backstory. I'd like to also recognise very briefly that we have not, as Councillor Winston mentioned, we understand we're a coastal and a hinterland or country town community. And I'd like to thank this council for going to continue to invest in our country towns, particularly in the stage 2 of the placemaking project in Landsborough, $1.15 million to do stage 2. I love the fact that our country towns give us an identity that is complex and not just urban. I'd also like to recognise we're investing in our newest community, Caloundra South, or Aura, where we're starting the design of the new major civic centre, and we continue to design the sports clubhouses. In the end, as I say, I think we recognise that we have a vision to be the most sustainable. Does this budget serve that purpose? I believe it does. But I think fundamentally it continues to grow our confidence as a community of communities, both in ourselves now and into the future and towards 2032. And I heartily support this budget and again thank the Mayor for his presentation today.
Thank you, Councillor Babarowski. Councillor Suarez.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for presenting the budget in an overview, basically encompassing everything that we've worked hard to achieve and what we're looking forward to do in the future. The process is not easy, putting the budget together. I'd also like to give Heidi Roberts, who's online at the moment, a shout out for making the process as involved as it was. We had a lot of input, the ELT had a lot of involvement, and I can't remember who said no one was a clear winner in this budget, but that's true for the ELT team as well. Their wish list was long and varied and everything was important, but we had to prioritise what we could fit in this year. The pressures will also be on our community, as Councillor Natoli mentioned. There are a number of divisions who will have increased pressure due to the valuation increase in the area, and I thank the Council for the initiatives that they're putting forward in terms of progress payments and reduction of interest for those people who may be feeling that pressure. When you think about why our area has probably increased in value and why so many people want to move here, it's because it is a great place to live. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with our environment. We did a study with University of the Sunshine Coast to try and put a valuation on our environmental services and functions. And one of the key things that have stuck with me was the comment that if we took everything that was man-made in our region and put it somewhere else in the middle of the Antarctic or in the middle of a desert, we wouldn't value our region as we do now, and that's largely due to the environment. So I'm really pleased that the Environment Levy has been able to deliver on so many land acquisitions, so many programs, so much education, and I I think the community really values that as well. Sunshine Coast Environment Council recognised a lot of their previous volunteers and members for the work that they had done over many years to try and preserve a lot of environmental space. And one thing that they said was, it's a never-ending battle. They're always fighting. You know, even if they find some land that they protect, it's always under pressure. So through our land acquisition process, I think that gives them great hope that more and more of our environment will be there for the future to enjoy. I'd also like to thank the community who have embraced the garden organic system. We kind of expected that more people may be wanting to get an exemption from it, but it was really heartening to see that the community survey was proven correct and that people embraced it and wanted to adopt this initiative. And it's going to go a really long way in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions here in the region. So I thank the community for embracing that initiative. I won't talk about all the individual projects in Division 9, I'll do that in my own platforms, but when I look at all the projects that will be delivered across the region, there's a couple of common themes for me, and that is, one is how we move about the region, whether that be transport, our road upgrades, our pathway renewals or increases in pathways, and our tracks and trails. The other thing that I see in our capital works projects is a lot of the projects that we'll be putting forward bring our communities together. We've got our sports fields, we've got a number of other initiatives that will bring the community together, and one small example from my division will be a cenotaph project in Parklakes. It's a very new community, or fairly new community, and we have Bly which has been around for a very long time. And that single project will bring together those two communities every year for a common reason, and both communities are really excited about that project progressing. There's a lot in this budget as well in terms of support for our community, support for our businesses and support for our community groups, and I congratulate the Council for continuing with those initiatives and not just focusing on roads, rates and rubbish. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Suarez. Councillor Law.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. I certainly will be speaking to support the budget today. And while I think I might be here perhaps talking last, I'm certainly not talking as any kind of runner-up whatsoever. I think what I've heard today and what I've seen in the budget and throughout the whole process, and in particular since last year, is a really strong commitment for the things that make the Sunshine Coast what it is. And that's our community and how we are together and how we interact together, how we treat each other, our climate and our environment, because without that, we don't actually have a beautiful place to call home. But then also to hear, I believe for the first time you speak specifically about Nambour and things in Division 10 in your address, Mr Mayor, is very encouraging and very exciting. So the community, we're committing over $3 million to continue our community grants program, a similar amount for events. This is fantastic. Our community is what makes the Sunshine Coast what it is. Obviously followed up by our climate and environment. Last year we spent a lot of time working towards what do we have to do to demonstrate leadership and bring the community with us so that we can achieve some very ambitious goals for the Sunshine Coast. And I'm really delighted to see that having agreed and recognised the state of climate emergency that we're in, that now is shining and is prominent in our budget and in our governance processes. And you spoke so well to that today, Mr Mayor. And it's about our future, it's about the children and their grandchildren, and it's actually about generations 5 and 10 years in the future from now, not just our grandchildren. Really, really important, and we must continue to do that work. And it is so satisfying to see the small things coming through that demonstrate that we're doing that. And leading our community and helping them to become a low-carbon community while we work so hard to become a zero net emissions organisation on behalf of our community. Many years ago, long before I had an interest in being a representative of the people, Nambour used to be the core capital of the Sunshine Coast, but I have to be precise here about the Maroochy Shire, so that central band of the Sunshine Coast. That is where the Sunshine Coast, that middle strip, grew and was built and developed. That's now been handed over to Maroochydore being the principal centre of the Sunshine Coast, but the whole Sunshine Coast. And that's a very good thing that is happening, because if you look at where the population, the services, the business, the economic drivers, the majority, that's where they are, and that's where they need to be serviced and led from. But Nambour remains as a major centre for the hinterland, and I'm delighted to see that you focused on that today with the funding commitment to continue the development of the Nambour Council Precinct to ensure that it is there to service the community in the future. And I can also just add to that that the future budgets, when you look into the forecast, is also supporting that commitment that will be achieved as we continue with the design and feasibility and concepts that need to be developed so that we can then talk to the community, talk to everyone in this room, so that Nambour has the type of infrastructure that it needs to support the work of council and to support the whole community right in Nambour. And I thank not only you, Mr Mayor, but the whole of the council and our team that has brought us to this position really in quite such a short time, particularly as I hear my colleagues speak about how long it takes to get things done. So I'll be working hard to continue that support. And if I can just finish with some comments that the budget reflects the work we do across the whole region. Throughout Division 10, our parks and gardens are receiving the renewals and improvements and renovations that we need. We don't necessarily need brand new parks except where our community is growing, but we need to look after, renovate what we have got. And there is a real focus on that across the whole of Division 10. So I'm certainly in support of the work everyone has done. We've had thanks and accolades from everybody. I won't repeat them, but thank you very much, and I'll be supporting the budget today. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Well, I'll just stand to close, councillors, and I think everything has been said very well. The theme of this year's budget is better, stronger, sustainable. I think everybody can always see room for improvement. That's that focus on being better in so many areas. Obviously, people want to be part of a strong community. They want to be part of a strong financial community, one that can serve their needs into the future. I think that's very important for us. And obviously the focus on sustainability, and whether that's financial sustainability, environmental sustainability, community asset sustainability, they're all very important for people. Again, I want to thank our finance team, in particular Heidi and Michael and Sandy and Isaac, and everybody else who plays a role behind the scenes, and our ELT for their work in coordinating our budget. That's extremely important. I think it's be described as a very sensible budget in what we know are difficult times. But I think it puts us on a really positive footing. And I think your own comments here this morning, your own individual comments about the budget and about your community and our broader community, and the suggestion that I think we'll have a unanimous vote in support of the budget, sends a really strong message to our community that this is a council that does work together. There's nothing worse than disunity at times like this on really important documents, but it also gives great confidence to our councillors, our council staff, councillors as well included, but council staff, that this is a council who is united around what it is we're going to do and by when. That makes a huge difference in the minds of our community and our staff. So thank you all for the contribution you've made, and I look forward to your positive support on this budget when we put it to the vote right now. So all those in favour of supporting the budget, please raise your hand. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors and staff. Whilst this is the sort of end of the beginning of the budget for 22-23, it's approved, and it's now about administering it in the most effective way for our community. So on that note, at 10:21, I'll close the meeting and thank you all very much. Thank you.